everyone, I am Leura Craig, and I'm a partner and founder of Outlander VC. For those of you who are not familiar with us, we're an early stage venture capital firm focused on investing in the very best people. Early stage businesses are hard to understand without real traction and metrics, and we're in the very, very beginning of businesses and looking just at the ideas. So how do we as investors make decisions? Well, we're looking at founders in terms of their vision, their intelligence, their character, and their execution. And today, what we are hosting is the Outlander Fall Showcase, which is a presentation by 5 of our really incredible portfolio companies. And they're going to get an opportunity to share with you all what they're building, why they're building it, why they're the right team to be solving that problem, and how they have done what they've done so far. So we are really, really grateful that you're here to check out our companies. Basically, how this is going to work is it is going to be a 5-minute pitch by each founder, followed by a 5-minute audience Q&A. So please listen to the pitches and come up with great questions. We're going to try to get through as many questions as possible. And most importantly, don't forget to use that Get Intro button. These companies are out fundraising or are going to be shortly fundraising. And so this is the perfect opportunity for you to get in front of them as they're out having conversations about their company and the future of where they're going. So use the Get Intro button, get connected. If you have never used Stonks before and you're not as familiar with it, you can always reach out to us directly and we will coordinate introductions as well. Any way you need an introduction, we will make it happen. So I'm very, very excited about the companies presenting today. But before we kick things off, we are going to have a short video that's going to help us understand how to use the Stonks platform.
Hi there. Welcome to this awesome demo day. I'm John, co-founder of Stonks, and we're so excited to have you here on the platform. If you're watching this video, there are 2 things that are almost certainly true. 1, you're probably watching a demo day, a fundraising event right now, and 2, have probably gotten a haircut since filming this. So what we're going to do today is look at a fake startup so that we can practice utilizing the Stonks platform. So you'll see on the bottom of your screen a fake startup called Goober. People who have been here before will definitely recognize Goober. Goober has landed already over $1 billion in soft interest. So please do us a favor and practice using the Stonks platform by clicking the Get Intro button as if Goober was pitching and you might be interested in investing. So click Get Intro, write a little note to the founders of Goober, and get connected. So you won't hear back from Goober, but keep in mind that all of the startups on the rest of the event are all very real startups and will want to speak with you if you request an intro to meet with them. Thank you so much for practicing. I'm very much looking forward to this event. Enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we're excited to be here at Stonks. So now we are very excited to present our first Outlander company. We're going to have Heartbeat.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining in. My name is Murtaza and I'm actually one of the founders of Heartbeat. At Heartbeat, what we're doing is we are taking anybody that has an audience and then turning them into a community manager with superpowers. Now, that word audience actually has a lot of stuff baked into it. So looking at all of the types of folks that are building audiences, there are so many people that are entering the space. There's things like support groups, activist groups, course creators, professional orgs, fellowships. All of these folks are building audiences. And what they're looking to do is start shifting this from this one-to-many interaction that they have with their audience into a many-to-many interaction that they can have with communities. And what's even more exciting is that this space is only growing. As more and more folks start to leave Facebook and Twitter for more closed exclusive spaces where they can take those tissue paper thin Facebook relationships and really deepen them in online communities, we're starting to see communities take off. COVID has made online relationships the norm. And even more than that, it's actually expanded the market of people that are looking to join intentional, thoughtful communities. So now online communities aren't just profitable, but they're actually incredibly lucrative businesses that are becoming 6-figure, 7-figure businesses. And with all of this change that's happening into the community space, nobody has built the technology that's actually needed to support this. I used to be the head of community at Georgia Tech Startup Accelerator in Atlanta, CreateX, where we were running cohorts of 75 companies, 250 founders per cohort. And my whole job was just this: coordination. I woke up thinking about coordination and I went to bed thinking about coordination. And that coordination has to happen across 2 degrees. First, it has to happen in physical coordination, meaning people have to be on the Zoom call at the same time when you're running an event. People need to be in the Slack channel at the same time to have a conversation. And then there's intellectual coordination, meaning that you can't have a community of, a bunch of pre-seed founders and then Series B founders. There has to be some equalized knowledge, and everybody has to have the same sort of shared pool of knowledge that they can work off of. So as a community builder, you have to be both the conductor of the orchestra and the music teacher. And with all of this coordination you have to do as part of your job, this is how the best communities basically get built today, where they're taking Slack and then they tie it to Airtable and tie it to Notion and tie it to Google Calendar and tie it to Zoom, and they duct tape all of this together with Zapier and then just pray to God that it works. And this was my job when I was running community with CreateX. I was easily spending 10 to 15 hours a week just dealing and negotiating with the tools on top of all of the stuff that I had to do to bring the community together. So that's why we built Heartbeat, for this next generation of community builders, where we bring conversation, content, and events all under one roof with a nice layer of community management on top of it to manage things like member segmentation, moderation, and payments. And it is all in your own domain, so you never feel like you're renting space from another platform. We start at $29 a month, with our largest customer paying $700 a month right now, and charge a 5% fee on payments. Heartbeat is live today on web, desktop, iOS, and Android. You can go to heartbeat.chat, start your own community for free. It's really easy to get set up. So we launched Heartbeat in January 2021. And since then, the response has been absolutely incredible. Just this year, we're at $500,000 in year-to-date revenue. A lot of that was started off through a major AppSumo campaign that we did in April. We launched on AppSumo thinking we were going to get 10, 20 customers, and ended up becoming their top performing campaign of 2022, bringing over 4,000 community builders to purchase Heartbeat licenses. We've then taken all of those AppSumo customers and moved them into a customer community, catalyzing them to help them drive sales and reaching 120 subscription customers and about 4K MRR, which is still growing about 30% month over month. We've also launched almost 700 communities, and that means communities with at least 5 non-admin users in the community. So these are actual live communities that are up and running on Heartbeat. And then in July of this year, we actually launched payment processing on Heartbeat, so you can charge for things like memberships, courses, and digital products. And in just 3 months, we've processed almost 140K in platform GMV, all through Heartbeat. Some of our awesome customers include organizations like StreamYard, which is actually hosting the stream right now. We've got Sora Schools, the Ethereum Foundation, girlboss.com. So a lot of really amazing folks that we've gotten the chance to work with. And what's really been accelerating this has not just been the product itself, but our customer community too, where we put 800 folks into a customer community who are now driving about 60% of our sales through referrals. They became the first batch of affiliates that actually started marketing Heartbeat. We've also got them helping each other out, answering questions in threads, comments, direct messages, and knocking out about 2,000 support tickets a month. And what they also do, because a lot of them are marketers and creators, is building content for us. So they put their own YouTube tutorials and walkthroughs of how they're using Heartbeat, which has reached about 50K in aggregate views on YouTube right now and drives a ton of folks to come visit and check out Heartbeat. All of this is only possible because of the amazing team that we brought together. Mehul, my co-founder, manages all things tech across all 4 platforms: web, desktop, iOS, and Android. Bianca manages all things support, and I handle growth and sales. We've also got some incredible investors like Outlander, Social Starts, Gagan Biani, the founder of Maven and the previous founder of Udemy, and then Kyle Porter, who was the founder of SalesLoft. So we're actually kicking off our seed raise this week, and we are raising $2.5 million to reach $2.2 million in ARR, 3,800 launched communities, and a team of 10 members. Thanks so much for tuning in, and let us know if you have any questions.
Thanks, Murtaza. That was great. Just a reminder for everyone, we'll be doing a Q&A session after each pitch, so feel free to drop questions in the chat, and we'll kick them over for answers. I'll kick it off. Would love to hear a little bit more about where you're seeing the best traction in terms of what types of communities. Look like you're covering a lot of ground there.
Yeah, absolutely. If you actually let me reshare my slides, it's a nice little pull out on the slides. So on this page specifically, all of the first 6 that are in that like nice little red outline, that's our beachhead market and where we're starting today. So it's a lot of coaches, consultants, people that are looking to take the one-on-one interactions they have with their customers, the one-to-many interactions, and then scale that into a many-to-many community so their time isn't linear, it really scales exponentially for them. And so a lot of these types of folks have actually been able to move their businesses on Heartbeat, launch like courses, things like that. And we've seen people 2x, 3x their revenue by moving directly to Heartbeat and building a larger community on top of what they're doing.
Awesome. Wanted to jump in here with one as well. So I think you touched on it a little bit, but I'd love to hear you explain more about some of the key features you felt were necessary to launch with, and then what are some that you're really excited about developing that are coming down the pipe.
Yeah, great question. So key features are really that first line over here. So conversations, content, and events. If you think about pretty much every community, their members are always going to engage across one of those three channels, often more than one. So it's either going to be conversations, which a lot of people use Slack for, content, which people will use like Notion or make a custom WordPress site for, and then events. And so by bringing all three of those into one space, that brings the majority of the engagement that's going to happen into a community in one platform. And when you have all three of those there, now you can layer a ton of automation on top of it. So really the reason that admins choose us today is because while a lot of our competitors are building these like, social features like AR filters, stickers, things like that, all of our features are focused on the admin first and figuring out how do we save them as much time as possible, because every hour we save them, they tend to pour back into their community. And the biggest thing that we are excited about building past what Heartbeat looks like today is we want to continue managing these sort of four pieces. So conversation, content, events, and that management layer, and then allow other engineers and developers to actually build on top of Heartbeat, and they can sell their products in Heartbeat in an app ecosystem. For us, it means we'll always have the latest and greatest features on Heartbeat. It also creates a lot of ecosystem lock-in. So once you actually start downloading 2-3 of those apps, getting them set up in your Heartbeat space, now you are really, really well retained within the ecosystem, and then it creates a competitive moat around us for the future. So that's kind of where we're at today in terms of features, what we're excited about in the future.
Great. Looking forward to it.
We got a question in the chat from UV who asked, do you see this becoming its own form of social media?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I would actually say that traditional social media will probably always be there, but I think people are pretty used to the idea that you go on Facebook and Twitter and then maybe you make a couple friends there, but they're always like Twitter friends. They're like Facebook friends. And so because of that, when you want to deepen those relationships, like you're jumping on Zoom calls, you go and grab a drink with them, you go and talk to them. But now that's actually shifting to communities, where communities are facilitating such great interactions that you can do all this in a community. So while I think traditional social media will always exist, I think the deeper relationships are now going to move away from always having to meet somebody in a restaurant, always being locked to who is within a 20-mile radius of you, to now moving to online communities.
Great.
Awesome. I think we have time for one more, so I'll end with this. So obviously you have a bunch of users on your platform. Would love to hear what some of the key learnings have been from your customers today. Yeah,
that's a great question. I think one of the things and the features that we didn't really expect to take off, which has absolutely taken off, is that member segmentation piece on this slide. We did that because I was running Create X's community and we were doing a bunch of cohorts, so member segmentation was important. But by and large, that has been one of the most popular features of how people actually create their Heartbeat community. Because with most community tools that you use today, everybody's basically in the same bucket and gets the same experience. But when you actually introduce segmentation, it's kind of the same way you do it through email lists, where you like really segment an audience, perfectly tailor the experience for them, and then you can check box that off and move to the next one, move to the next one. And that's how you know you're always delivering an amazing experience for folks. So that's probably the feature that we didn't expect that has really, really taken off and made people so excited about their Heartbeat communities.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Murtaza. Everyone, just as a reminder, make sure you get those intro requests in. You continue to do so throughout the presentation. But without further ado, I'm excited to invite Toma onto the stage with Barometer. And I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Tamara, CEO and co-founder of Barometer, an AI-powered suitability and contextual targeting platform. Did you know that the top 10 advertisers in the world spend $83 billion a year on ads, but 0 of it goes to podcasts, the highest ROI advertising channel? Why? Brands fear the risk of being associated with controversial or misaligned content and feel they have no way of protecting themselves from this risk. And it's easy to see why, as risky misalignments happen all the time in podcasts. For example, while Turkey ran programmatically on Sobercast, AA's flagship podcast, which targets youths and sober adults. Guidepost Montessori, the preschool, ran accidentally on Guys We Fucked 26 times. Both of these costly failures could have been prevented if the brand had Barometer. This is an expensive problem to solve, and we know that as much as 18% of ad spend in CTV and display ads goes towards targeting and suitability. This creates a large and growing opportunity in the podcast marketing channel, which is growing at the rate of about 32% year over year. And podcast is just one type of user-generated content, which we're starting with. But brands need the same protections in all emergent and exponentially growing user-generated content spaces, from Substack to Snapchat. This is why we built Barometer. Our AI analyzes thousands of hours of podcast content automatically to understand risk based on 11 components defined in the most widely used suitability framework in the space. The AI outputs a risk level for elements including adult content, guns, drugs, politics, hate speech, and more for every episode, transforming the currently manual monitoring and discovery process into an automated and data-driven one. Group M indicates that with protections like Barometer in place, their brands feel confident spending 10x more in podcast. This is precisely why our API is designed to power ad insertion platforms and enable brands to enforce their suitability policies at scale during real-time ad buys in the same way they can in other channels like CTV and display. Our API powers refiltering and post-blocking and provides detailed post-campaign reporting on alignment with suitability standards across the entire ad buy. Our go-to-market strategy starts with engaging brands and agencies who feel this pain point the most acutely and hold the purse for the entire value chain. With buy-side buy-in, we're able to work with networks and hosting platforms directly to get them third-party ratings for their content, making it easier for them to communicate the suitability of their content to brands. Finally, with the first two pieces in place, we are covering enough inventory for enough demand partners to integrate directly into ad insertion platforms where advertisers can enforce their suitability standards at scale during programmatic and programmatic guaranteed buys. Barometer has two main revenue streams. The first is a SaaS model for access to our monitoring and reporting platform, which is priced based on annual podcast ad spend and averages to about $22.50 a month. The second component is enforcement, which is monitored using a CPM upcharge for when Barometer's filters are applied during an ad buy on a third-party ad insertion platform at the rate of 50 cents per individual component like guns or hate speech and $3 for all 11 components. For example, Athletic Greens currently pays us $27K a year for access to the platform and will soon be paying an additional $250K a year for enforcement at scale. Although we started gaining traction in the space just 6 months ago and only released the complete product in early August, we've already achieved 220K ARR and are on track to hit $1 million ARR by February. With the CPM business model going live in ad insertion engines this winter, we will be able to capitalize on the projected 70% growth in programmatic podcast advertising and be poised to raise a Series A in 18 months after we pass $5 million ARR. Our core team has over 40 years of AI and machine learning experience from leading academic and industry institutions like NASA and the FDA. We've also all grown up overseas and understand the fine line between content moderation of authentic voices and freedom of speech. We're raising $3 million to extend runway 24 months, allow us to hire developers, build out our sales team, and achieve our milestone of $5 million ARR for the Series A. Thank you so much for your attention, and I encourage you to please press Get Intro to connect with us after and learn more.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to jump right in. Again, just as a reminder, this is meant to be a Q&A session for everybody. So we're monitoring on the side. If any of you have questions, please let us know. Otherwise, you'll just have to hear Blaine and I talk, which I know no one wants to just do. So I'll kick things off. So the first question I have is, obviously there are a lot of potential uses for this type of technology. I would love to hear more about how you chose this as your beachhead going in with the marketers and podcasting specifically.
Yeah, that's a great question. So honestly, we had one of the leading podcast marketing agencies in the country come to us and literally beg to use our technology to apply it to podcasts because their brands were struggling so much. And for example, like one of the brands we work with is their client, Indeed.com. They literally had a manual team listening to episodes of podcasts every day in a different country, trying to listen for mentions of all of these 11 different components that could be possibly problematic in the content. And since then, they've literally fired their entire brand safety department in favor of Barometer. So it's really just the density of this content. If you think about like a display ad, what's on a website, like, I don't know, 15 words and a couple pictures, a podcast can be 3 hours of lengthy, nuanced conversation. So it was a perfect way to test out and kind of showcase the sophistication of our AI approach.
Awesome. How about, could you talk a little bit more about your customer acquisition channels today and what that looks like?
Yeah, totally. So we're creating a strategy of channel partnerships with agencies and other platforms. For agencies, we work both directly with agencies, and then they can refer their clients to become clients of Barometer if the clients actually want to see the dashboards and build their own monitoring and compliance dashboards. We're also partnered with the DSPs, the demand side platforms that we're integrated directly into. So they have existing, these are third-party platforms with existing audiences managing millions and sometimes billions in ad spend. And they have basically their captive audience of users that are able to use the Barometer filters to filter for suitability, even if they don't know who Barometer is. So that's a really great way for us to get exposure to new customers. We're also integrated with the leading podcast platform that's used by literally every brand in the space in their premium feature set, which will also get us great exposure to brands, and they can directly refer brands to basically get a premium tier of our offering right within their platform.
All right, we have one in from Walter Lee. He said on an earlier slide you were going to broaden to new podcast categories. So can you speak to which ones you're currently working with now? What categories?
Yeah, so we score currently about 2,000 shows across every major network and podcast. The way that we prioritize the shows that are in the Barometer right now are based on our customers, the shows that they're actually buying. So each brand that uses Barometer sends us their show list. Each network that uses Barometer sends us their show list. And then we get all of those added in. The way that we're prioritizing the next 5,000 shows is using just the ad spend and top charts. And then we're also creating the opportunity for individual, like long tail creators to pay about $1 an episode to get their content transcribed, analyzed, and in Barometer to be placed alongside the top 1,000, 2,000 shows.
Great. Kind of going off of that, we got a similar question in the chat. Could you speak a little bit more to how you see this affecting the creators, whether it's their earnings, just tailoring their content, whatever that might be?
Yeah, absolutely. So every creator is different, but if you're a creator who's seeking to get investment from advertisers that are large, those advertisers likely have very strict, legally binding suitability policies, so they can't invest in just any content. Right now, there's no like mirror for a creator to see how their content is gonna show up to a brand. And so what we allow creators to do is to get their content scored in the terms that brands understand. So an individual podcaster might learn that, oh, if I just drop 3 F-bombs, then suddenly Athletic Greens or Indeed.com can sponsor me. Or they can say, actually, I don't really care, and so I don't want to do that. But this creates a way for them to actually speak the same language as the advertiser. So what we've seen is this opens up categories. If you're a network and you're managing like dozens of creators or sometimes hundreds of shows, this opens up categories such as comedy or news that were previously completely blacklisted by the companies, and creates the opportunity for you to actually find suitable content within those categories.
Great. Thanks so much. I think we're at time now, so we're going to wrap it up, and appreciate the time, Tamara. Again, request any intros in the chat, and next up we have Ziqi with Resource.
Hi, I'm Ziqi. I'm one of the founders of Resource. We are building a SaaS platform revolutionizing global sourcing and manufacturing, and we're starting with fashion. Fashion brands have been frustrated with their current sourcing and manufacturing experiences. There are retailers, DTC brands, and new entrants. We're talking about creators, influencers, fashion marketplaces, or Web 2 and Web 3 communities now ready to launch their own clothing line. So what are they frustrated about? There are mainly 4 problems in the space. First is high minimum order quantity. The ready-to-wear women's contemporary average has a 300 units per style per color minimum, a number that is too high for most brands to even get started. And it is very harmful for both the environment and brands' financial health. Secondly, it is the inconsistent quality. So when brands work with manufacturers, they can easily switch the fabric or reduce a key step in the process, which leads to the quality that is being sometimes too poor for the brands. And thirdly, it's a long lead time. The average end-to-end production cycle now is 4 to 6 months. That is too long for today's consumer and the brands. Finally, communication issues. The industry still stuck in the 90s with lots of emails, phone calls, text messages. And on top of that, there is cultural barrier, time difference, and language difference. So how big is your frustration? Every year, 52 billion pieces of cloth are produced globally. If we apply that by $10 per piece for production, it is a $520 billion industry. There's no clear winner yet. And the one that takes over the market will be the company that deeply understands the nuance of the working relationship between brands and the manufacturers, and one that is able to use technology to build a solution, a workflow that works for the two, and finally, able to onboard both sides into that vision. Since December last year, we have been building a SaaS platform connecting fashion brands to industry suppliers. Resource we set in the middle. We aggregate orders from fashion brands. And with that, we will be able to improve order fulfillment flow over time. And we can also have bigger bargaining power with industry suppliers and enforce the order fulfillment flow with them. Over time, we can then offer fashion brands with better pricing, higher quality, and shorter lead time. We start with our operation expertise, as my family has been in the space for over 2 decades. And with more production data, we're able to standardize the process and build more automate flow in the play. And in long run, we will be able to gather more abundant production data and build AI ML empowered smart solutions in the place. With this solution, we're able to effectively reduce the lead time by 4 times and the minimum investment by 9 times. And we're specifically addressing the 4 big problems we laid out in the beginning. So how are we making money? We charge $249 per month for subscription fee and 15% for the bulk production take rate. With $0 spent in the ads, we have 70K likes on TikTok and 12K followers on social. We launched our product last December. Since then, we have seen 38% month-over-month growth rate for our MRR, and every quarter we are tripling our GMV as well. This month, we have 43 customers already, and we are reaching 10K MRR and 70K GMV. So how will we win the future? Besides category and geography, which after we figured out the recipe, we can replicate for both different category and different geography, we also believe that we're well positioned to become the most vertically integrated platform from fabric stock inventory to storefront inventory. We can in real time turn the sales data in the storefront to the production data in the backend. Tatiana and I are college friends from Duke. We graduated 2019, and we actually started a fashion brand ourselves with our initial ZNT style. We learned a lot of problems ourselves when we were doing that and decided to quit our full-time job to build the company ourselves. And my family has been in the space for 2 decades. We have served companies like Topshop and Lee Cooper with a rich network and knowledge in the industry. We're also working with 3 fantastic talents who are ready to onboard with us after our seed raise. So this is actually perfect timing. We just kickstart our seed raising last week. We're raising $2.5 million for a 2-year runway. Our team has a track record for capital efficiency. We raised $590K last year in September from Amino Capital and Outlander. We spent less than half since then, and we have already reached 120K ARR. We launched 6 pilots, and we're already default alive with our financials. After we raise, we'll use the fund to mainly develop our tech and further improve our supply chain. We'll also be running pilot program to reach our product market fit. With 15% month-over-month growth rate, we are well positioned to reach 1 million annual revenue in 12 months around next year, October, when we are ready to raise our Series A. Thank you so much. We are very excited to get more intros and talk to you more about our company.
Thanks, Ziqi. That was great. We've got a question from the chat. Someone would like to hear what your criteria is for onboarding new suppliers.
So it's a very good question, because one of the key insights we have learned from running this whole process. So my co-founder Tatiana, she traveled back to China this year and spent 6 months there to every day working with suppliers. One key lesson we learned is it's very important to onboard the right supplier. Most importantly, we want to make sure that the supplier really follows through our process, and which means we will need to basically feed them a lot of orders and become their dominant partners. In that case, suppliers will much more likely to comply with our needs, both in terms of the minimum order quantity and timeline and quality. Other than that, we also have a audit internally ourselves, where we go to the factory, we visit them, we interview them, and make sure that they have a ethical standard towards treating their workers, and we make this information available for our brands as well.
Great.
Awesome. Okay, one question for you. I would love to hear more about your customer acquisition strategy with some of these smaller brands and regional brands that you're working with.
Yeah, certainly. So as I said, we spend $0 in ads, and we are very focused on content marketing on our social. So we have our organic growth of a lot of them attributing to our social channels like TikTok and Instagram. So check us out. They are both under Resource Fashion. We also are building active community through hosting events. We have partnered with Allbirds during New York Fashion Week, and we are having another event at Shopify next month. So a lot of partnership, a lot of working with other startups in the space to together foster an active fashion community. Our newsletter have an open rate of 50%, about 50%, which is way higher than industry standard. And we have a growing list of over 1.5K already.
Awesome. We've got another question in the chat. Do you have plans to go after larger fashion brands in the near future?
Yeah, certainly. So as you guys can see here, actually GMV contributed a lot to our revenue. So these brands have bulk production, and we now work with 3 different enterprise brands who have over 50K quarterly production value with us. And it is one of our top strategy to do more outbound sales to go after these brands for sure.
Great.
Cool. And another one coming in from the chat, and one that's probably on a few folks' minds. So how can the supply chain issues going on in the world or future world politics impact your business?
Certainly. So obviously, supply chain has a lot of geopolitical risk itself. And even though right now we mostly work with Chinese manufacturers, mostly because my family has been in space for long enough, we have a easy way to get in, and we also start to build more expertise in the industry. With that, we will be able to replicate the same model with other countries, and that is also our plan. So we're talking to Mexican and Vietnamese manufacturers at the moment as well, trying to expand our supply network to mitigate any geopolitical risk.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I think that's all the time we have for right now. So again, thank you, Ziqi. And without further ado, I will invite Akshita on stage with OM.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for your time today. My name is Akshita, and I'm the founder and CEO of OM, where we are on a mission to build the next generation of connected appliances to bring safe and valuable insights and automation to the kitchen. Now, my story actually starts right in my own home when my mom left the stove on one too many times and started a kitchen fire. And it was really disheartening and frustrating to see my own parents stop doing something they love simply because technology hasn't caught up yet. Especially because our homes are super connected. We have smart devices everywhere that are bringing safety and convenience to almost everything we do. But the most dangerous thing in our house is still dumb. Our stove is a live hazard, and there is no way to monitor it intelligently. And because of this, there are serious safety concerns still in the kitchen. Unattended cooking is the #1 cause of house fires. posing a huge risk not only to residents, but also to properties. $1 billion a year in damage goes from unattended cooking. And while the obvious solution is to just build a new smart appliance, the reality is that appliance manufacturers are just not tech companies, and appliances last for 10 to 20 years. I knew there had to be a much simpler solution. At Ohm, we've built the only retrofit patented smart device on the market today that can turn an existing gas or electric stove into a smart appliance in minutes without the need for a new appliance and without the need for a kitchen remodel. Our smart knob seamlessly replaces your existing stove knob and allows you to use your stove like you do every day. You push, you turn. The difference is that our device is Wi-Fi connected. It has a built-in motor, so it can automatically and proactively control your appliance. It also has built-in automatic shutoff and safety lock features to provide that enhanced level of security in your kitchen, but also allows you to remotely access your stove from anytime, anywhere, making the dangers of unattended cooking a problem of the past. Now, while this is a product all of us can use at one time or another, we're taking a very strategic approach to market adoption by first revolutionizing the standard of senior living by enhancing home safety for older adults while increasing efficiency for senior living operators. The way we do that is through a two-pronged approach. First, we have our smart knob, which offers that enhanced cooking experience for residents, that peace of mind for families and caregivers. But our enterprise dashboard offers operators complete visibility and control of all the stoves in a community through a single touch point. Importantly, we're able to track daily usage and cooking patterns for individual residents, which provides a level of objective reporting and quantitative data and insight for early detection of cognitive impairments, which can aid in determining the need for elevated care. Our system can really bridge the gap between resident data and real life and becomes a very powerful communication tool for family members and operators. And to ensure that we can work with every community and its needs, we offer multiple payment options. Communities can either pay for the hardware upfront or installments alongside a subscription fee for access and maintenance of the dashboard, or a monthly all-inclusive fee with no upfront cost. But we're not a one-product company. The world really doesn't need another kitchen gadget. What we need is a better kitchen. And what we're building at Ohm is an entire cooking system that is dynamic and responsive to every kitchen. Imagine if we can control your appliance in real time when your meat reaches the right temperature, when your pot of spaghetti boils, when your chicken starts to brown, or we add in smart recipes where you can set it and forget it. With applications in other cooking verticals as well, like outdoor grilling and commercial kitchens, our ecosystem is really what turns Ohm into an enterprise rich with customer data and insight around cooking habits and preferences that are currently inaccessible in the kitchen. And in the last 18 months, we've shipped over 4,000 devices off of our consumer waitlist of 10,000 devices, about $1 million in backordered product, with close to 1,000 monthly active users, an NPS score of 84, with expectations to fill the remaining 6,000 devices by Q1. We also have a pipeline of senior living pilots, with one just signed for full deployment of 3,000 devices in their entire community. And we also have issued IP that covers the retrofit and the integration, with additional patents pending on future products in our roadmap. And we've been able to make this much progress really because of an amazing team. We are backed by investors with deep expertise in consumer and age technology, alongside a management team that has been building and scaling consumer devices and appliances for decades. The saying goes, hardware is hard. But what I've come to realize is that if you have the right people around the table, there's a way to do hardware right. I started Ohm really to solve a very simple problem for my family. But there is an entire world beyond the surface of the appliance that we are able to unlock in a way that no other company can. There are clear physical and cognitive and emotional benefits to cooking and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. The longer we can preserve the spirit of the center of our home, the more longevity and meaning we can put back into the years we have left. We hope you will either follow or join us on this journey at Ohm. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Akshita. Just to kick things off, we've got one in the chat from Vicus. A great question. So he asked, if you are in touch with insurance companies yet, and potentially partnering with them, since obviously this adds some added safety to some homes?
Absolutely. So that has always been on our roadmap. And one thing we've been waiting for is enough data to show insurance companies that we can actually prevent the risk of unattended cooking, and also provide some demographic and insights into, so they can use for their underwriting. Now that we have enough users, we have enough data, we are talking to some of the major home insurers, but also to commercial insurers, especially because of our avenue with senior living operators. We will continue those discussions, and obviously the goal is that we can incentivize adoption through discounts on your property insurance when those partnerships come through.
Perfect.
Thanks, Akshita. Could you talk to us a little bit about your competition? What's the competitive landscape look like now, and what are your main differentiators?
Yeah, so no one is approaching the kitchen like we are with this retrofit model. But having said that, kitchen safety has been an unsolved problem for a really long time. You talk about insurance companies have been paying $1 billion a year for a long time without any real effective solution. But the companies that have come and gone, have really only brought to market one-off products that tried to solve for this. And they all miss key elements like affordability or versatility and a great user experience to attract and retain a customer base. We finally offered the most comprehensive solution that not only solves for a major pain point today, but also has also been built with the opportunity to expand our use cases as the needs of our users evolve as well.
Great.
Let's see, we've got a couple more. So we've got a few from UV about the product itself. So one, what is the battery life looking like for these? And two, does it notify you only through the phone, or does the device itself emit a sound?
So to the former question, battery life is about 6 months to a year. Depending on how much you're using the connected cooking features, like setting a cooking timer, or how much that motor is running. And we notify you through the app when you have to charge it. It's very easy to take off of your stove. We even built it so that you can put your previous knob back on in case you want to cook, but you can take it off, plug it in, and then we'll notify you when it's fully charged. It takes a couple hours and you put it back on. Can you repeat the second question?
Of course, the last piece was around the notifications. So whether
Right.
it only comes through the phone or the device as well.
Yeah, so with Gen 1, we didn't put a speaker in the device so that we could emit sound. We are looking at for our Gen 2, but you do get a notification on your app, or if you use our Alexa skills, you can actually get audio notifications through Alexa.
Awesome.
Oh, Alexa integration. I like that. That's a nice touch. Awesome. Well, I know we just asked Ziqi about it too, but I think everyone's aware of the kind of supply chain issues out there right now. Could you speak to if you ran into any issues with the supply chain with the hardware device and how you've kind of overcome those?
100%. We have run into problems, but I think it's what's important is finding creative ways around it. We found we didn't want to go overseas too quickly, especially with all of the challenges in getting product here. So we decided to actually scale production domestically. We have a contract manufacturer in Huntsville that is doing all of our production. We get a lot of our raw materials from overseas, but our biggest challenge has just been staying on top of component availability. So, being able to buy components 6 to 8 months out to make sure we don't bottleneck. Now, as an early stage startup, that can be hard because you don't necessarily have the cash flow and you're using working capital to build that inventory. But with our focus on senior living operators and getting these larger orders, we're able to leverage alternative financing like inventory financing, and also credit lines for our manufacturer to be able to work around that. The supply chain issues aren't going anywhere, but we have the expertise on our team and great partners to make sure that we can still hit our milestones.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Akshita. We're wrapped up at time now, so we'll go to our last presenter of the day, Frantz with LONI.AI.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Frantz Civil. I'm the founder of LONI.AI. LONI.AI is the simplest way to manage your enterprise IT infrastructure. So for more than 20 years, I managed routers, switches, firewalls for enterprises. These devices power their IT infrastructure, power applications, power websites that we all use daily. And what I've noticed is, regardless of the size of the organization, regardless of how big or small their IT infrastructure budget, the same common problems existed across all of these organizations. So problem number one is having to manage multiple tools. For example, you typically would have a tool for monitoring, a tool for automation, a tool for intelligence, a tool for management, then a tool for routers, then a tool for firewalls, then a tool for servers, then a tool for Cisco, Arista, Juniper. So a given enterprise, even a medium-sized enterprise, could have anywhere from 1 to 2 dozen tools within their infrastructure that they have to maintain. Second issue is typically always had to be in the office or carry my laptop with me everywhere I go. When you think about how the world has gone mobile, it's just surprising that enterprise IT infrastructure hasn't taken advantage of mobile yet. And the third problem is some of the pain points that we're reviewing right here, which is associated with infrastructure operations, anything from visibility, mitigating cyber attacks, configuration management, managing a multi-vendor environment. List goes on and on as far as the challenges that IT infrastructure engineers face. Furthermore, these pain points lead to increased downtime, increased response time, error rates, loss of productivity, and of course, loss of revenue. The LONI platform on average has improved response time and outage resolution time by an average of 25 minutes for the customers that we're working with right now. Now, 25 minutes on surface doesn't look like a big deal, but when you factor in that the average outage costs larger enterprises anywhere from $1 million to $5 million per hour, that's a significant amount of productivity and revenue loss for that organization. So what the LONI solution is essentially we're taking network automation, we're taking network management, we're taking monitoring, we're taking intelligence, and we're combining that into one platform. On top of that, we're making that vendor agnostic, which doesn't matter if you're using Cisco, doesn't matter if you're using Juniper, doesn't matter if you're using any of the major hardware vendors. Our platform, you'll be able to leverage it to manage your IT infrastructure. Furthermore, we're the first to introduce mobile clients, meaning from your smartphone, from your tablet, from your smartwatch, you can do any enterprise IT infrastructure task that you can think of, whether we're talking about pushing policies to a firewall, mitigating a cyber attack, resetting an Active Directory username and or password for a user. Any task that you can think of that day-to-day is done by IT infrastructure engineers, you can essentially leverage your smartphone to perform that task. Our target market right now is the US network and cloud management, along with the US network automation market. We're currently focused on small to medium size enterprises. Typically, these organizations will have 5 or less enterprise engineers that are supporting the entire infrastructure, which is a pretty small, what we consider a skeleton crew. And typically these organizations will have less than $2 billion in revenue. From a competitive landscape, from a mobile perspective, which is our long-term sustainable competitive advantage, not much there to compare to. Now, there are some organizations that have one-off applications, but it's more so notification, really just one step above text messaging. There's not much steps that you could take. There's not much actions you can take from a lot of these applications. Now, when you look at it from low code, no code perspective, that's where the space gets a little bit more competitive. But what sets us apart short term in this space is the multi-vendor aspect. A lot of these vendors are more so focused on one large vendor. So for example, Cisco is only going to build tools for Cisco. Juniper is only going to build tools for Juniper, and so on. Whereas we're taking an approach of we don't care who your hardware vendor is, as long as they have an API or they allow some type of SSH access, we can integrate with it and allow you to manage your IT infrastructure right from the LONI platform. We did a launch at the Cisco Live Tech Conference. Tech conferences is basically how we're going to be connecting with our community, being right there with the engineers, doing live demos from the engineers, going over scenarios that they experienced in their infrastructure and showing them how simple and fast it would be easy to execute those same tasks or operations right from the LONI platform. So our early traction was in the finance and the banking space, but the Department of Defense and the military space has really heated up for us a lot within the past few months since we met with a lot of those folks over at the conference. So that's where a lot of our early traction has come from, mostly finance, mostly banking. And again, we're really starting to pick up a lot of steam in the military space. Right now, we're just looking to raise $900,000 for a 12-month runway. That $900,000, the majority of it is going to be spent on engineering staff. We are 100% offshore at this time with engineering teams in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Krakow, Poland, and Amman, Jordan, and also Cairo, Egypt. This is our product roadmap, and the bulk of this funds is going to go towards machine learning. And for us, AI is automated intelligence, whereas, hey, we have scenarios where it's not going. Engineers have been told about the self-driving network for about 20 years. It's not really realistic. But however, we do believe leveraging intelligence and automation, we can accomplish a lot of the promises that the self-driving network was supposed to deliver without the need for full AI, ridiculous amount of algorithms. We're essentially leveraging Python to take care of a lot of these tasks. So for example, let's say the internet circuit at your main headquarters goes down. There's only 3-4 steps that engineer can take before he has to open up a ticket with the carrier. Those commands that he would enter into that device can be 100% automated. And then a simple API call to that carrier to open up a ticket to diagnose that circuit that is down. That can also be automated as well. So we're just leveraging Python, automation, and intelligence to accomplish the same thing that we've been hearing about artificial intelligence would do, but still has yet to deliver within the IT infrastructure space. And high level, that's basically it. So LONI, Logical Objective Network Intelligence, is just the most simple way to manage your enterprise IT infrastructure. We're combining multi-vendor, we're combining zero-code automation, and for the first time ever, mobile.
Thanks, Frantz. That was great. Could you speak to us a little bit about your current customer acquisition channels? I know you mentioned a couple conferences you went to. Seems like it's pretty varied at this point between finance, government, and some other verticals.
Correct. To date, we have not been vertical focused. All of our leads are essentially warm contacts or from tech conference, and that's the two verticals that we've been focused on. What we do have in the pipeline, we've been speaking with several MSPs, managed services providers, that have hundreds of customers of their own about leveraging LONI, one, to manage their general infrastructure, and two, to pitch LONI to their own customers as well too. So tech warm contacts, tech conferences, and partnerships with MSPs who have hundreds of customers of their own that need tools like this.
Awesome. We've got one from the chat from Evan. He's asking if you would unpack the ideal customer a bit more, as in what size company, what tools are they using, and who within the organization is reviewing these tickets.
Correct. So the size of the company, typically you're going to be looking at less than 2,000 users, 5 or less in IT infrastructure engineers, meaning that's 5 engineers who's managing routers, switches, firewalls, public cloud, private cloud, servers, Active Directory, sometimes even desktop, and their help desk will be outsourced. In addition to that, this small group, they're also leveraging on-call rotations for night and weekends. So our champion within most organizations right now is typically going to be the engineer, right? The engineer is the one who's feeling these pain points. The CIOs, the VP of finance, they're just looking at us as a blip on their financial spreadsheet. They just want to see, hey, what's the cost savings, and with this product, can I reduce my staff, or can I stay at the number of staff that I'm in at? So typically when we get to the finance guys, that's when we start showing the cost savings. But right now, our champion is typically the network engineers. Most of the organizations we've come across, they're leveraging SolarWinds. for monitoring. Some of them are using NetBrain for their intelligence, and then a lot of them were looking into potentially trying to build out their own network automation team, which is a huge challenge by itself. And with our zero code automation, there's not even a need for that anymore.
Perfect.
Great. And I think we have time for one more quick question. Why do you think that nobody else has really gone the mobile route yet? It seems like that's a huge differentiator for you guys.
So that's interesting, right? So for example, the military guys, if you would have saw these guys' eyes light up, they were like kids in a candy store. It clicked for them automatically. I didn't have to pitch it. The value, they were just like, okay, we get this. We've been talking about how come this doesn't exist. So I think a lot of it too is politics, right? To be able to pull this off, you need to be multi-vendor. Cisco will never talk to Juniper. They'll never partner with Juniper. But Juniper is never going to partner with Arista. Arista is never going to partner with this company. So it really takes a third party to sit down, put all these components together and tie this in together. So I think part of it was politics. If all the big players in the industry wanted to, they could have came together and built this. But I think being with all the politics that goes on, I think it's something that was beneficial for all of us here.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think we're about at time. So appreciated, Frantz. Also a big thank you to everyone that presented, but without further ado, I'll bring Leura back on stage to help close us out.
Thank you so much. I thought this was a really spectacular round of presentations. I've personally spent really a lot of time with each of these founders and have seen them grow just tremendously in such a short amount of time since we have invested in each one of these companies. As we know, early days of startup life, there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of potentially getting lost in the forest and in the weeds, trying to figure out what's most important to build next. How do we continue to scale? And I've just been blown away by the speed and thoughtfulness at how these founders have executed, moving closer and closer towards their vision. And at every challenge, whether that's finding the right team member, dealing with supply chain issues, solving problems that have literally never been solved before, I've seen them really, even in these early days, dig deep and quickly find solutions to move their businesses forward. So I encourage all of you to hit those get intro buttons. These are incredible founders with really big visions and solving hard problems. We're very proud to back them, very proud to have participated in their financings in the past, and we'll continue to support them in the future. Please do let us know if you have any questions about the companies, but again, hit those get intro buttons. I know all of the founders are eager to hear from those of you who are attending today. And with that, I will conclude our Outlander Fall Showcase. We thank all of you so much for attending. And please, if you want to get in touch and share deals, talk shop, learn more about our mentor program or becoming a scout for Outlander, please don't hesitate to reach out. We look forward to staying in touch and stay outlandish. Thanks.